My name is Winfried Herrmann. I am the Minister for Transport of the Land Baden-Württemberg, and I am the host today. We are the host today. The Land of Baden-Württemberg is very pleased to be able to host this event today with all of these important guests. May I also welcome Mrs. Sander and Mr. Oetjen today, and you're also going to meet a number of guests from other organizations today. I am very pleased that today from the representation of Baden-Württemberg we also have guests here today, and we like to host these events, and we have deliberately chosen a communicative form of this event today. It is a common event with Grand Est, and we have partners. You can see them on the screen here today. We have already introduced them. Baden-Württemberg always says that we are at the heart of Europe, and we also have Europe in our heart. We are Europeans. This is what our constitution tells us, and we like to be Europeans. We like to meet other Europeans. We live Europe. We have European neighbors that we work together frequently, especially with France, Switzerland, and we also have a number of regional encounters also at a higher level. Here at the state representation, we also live the European Union. We frequently host events with topics that are on the agenda of the European Union. And we are very pleased that also the regions are going to discuss with us on these topics. And today we are working on the topic of the region of Rhine-Meuse. The concept of Europe of the regions is very important to us here in Brussels. More frequently than many people think, a lot of decisions are being taken which subsequently are going to be implemented, and sometimes they bring certain obligations with them, but they always design our lives. In particular in the area of transport and mobility in Europe. So far we have a number of ambitious goals at a European level, but I think we have to remain self-critical, since we are still far away from the goals that we set ourselves. We still have a large gap, and this has to do somewhat with the fact that we like to set ourselves ambitious goals, but when it is about implementing and setting concrete measures, we are hesitant. And sometimes the measures don't necessarily match the goals that we set ourselves, but we can no longer afford to do that, since we cannot change these goals. The climate crisis is something that we all see, and we have scientific grounds for these goals to be achieved. Therefore, we need concrete measures, and we also have to implement these measures together. And therefore, I am very pleased to be able to meet today to exchange on these matters across borders. The Rhine, with 180 kilometers also in the state of Baden-Württemberg, and France, a very important river. On the one hand, it separates countries, but it has always been common ground for different countries. The Baden-Württemberg and France have been working together for a number of years, so the Rhine has also brought countries closer together. It has been a very important shipping road for many centuries, and therefore also very important for the economy. If we look back to history, 1886, the Mannheim Act has been decided upon, where without fees and without any custom fees, the Rhine was able to be used for shipping measures. this is something that has existed for a long time, and it has survived a number of important decades in our region. And it is a very good example of cooperation, and it shows that if we work together, we can also overcome borders. We can have economic success, we can achieve economic success, and I think this remains important. And therefore, it is very important that the European Union is supporting and pushing forward trans-European corridors, and the Rhine is one of those important corridors. On the Rhine, we have a lot of goods that are being shipped. And on the one hand, the Rhine has the opportunity to bring forward climate-friendly transport measures. But on the same hand, we can also see that the Rhine itself is a victim of transport since in summer we have seen that the water levels are sometimes very low, which has also had a tremendous impact on these transport routes. Therefore, we need to act. We need to act consequently. But it is not just the Rhine, but also the Meuse, which will be represented at the event and discussed at this event today. It is situated in France, Belgium and the Netherlands, and also brings together a number of regions, but has also seen a number of wars, unfortunately, in their regions. Interestingly, before these wars, we have already had connections between these regions when we actually did not work together, but rather opposed each other. But today, bridges have been built, and this is something that we are going to discuss today. Today we have to act, and we have to reinforce these bridges. In Europe, we have decided on Fit for 55. In Baden-Württemberg, we have already implemented this. We have set ourselves ambitious goals, but also measures with a Climate Protection Act and with a concept where we determine in which sector we want to achieve certain CO2 goals. What is important is that in the next years, we are going to implement further measures where vehicles, for example, become more climate friendly, and therefore the decision with 2035 to actually leave the combustion engine production is something that is very important. I think the intervention that was brought forward by Germany at the end of this discussion is something that should not have happened, but I think it is very clear that we have to achieve these goals. We also have to develop the electric vehicle charging mechanisms for Germany. We need to achieve a lot more. We need better networks if we want to push forward this climate transition. And what I have also already mentioned are the so-called missing links. This is what I still see as a mistake, the fact that the European Union has created a European network, and this is very, they are very right in doing so, but there are cross-border links that are very important for Europe, and those are the missing links that have to become part of the network of the European Union. The region Grand Est and Baden-Württemberg are advocating for the fact to improve these missing links or to create these missing links. Overall, with regards to the cross-border transport, a lot more is happening than in other regions. We work together with Grand Est in the reintroduction of the train links between Colmar and Baden-Württemberg, and therefore on the French side and the European side, this is a very interesting and important project. This is going to cost a lot of money, but I think it is worth it since these regions have grown together economically, but not by train, but by automobile transport, and this obviously is a problem. We think that these kind of projects have to be supported. We are now talking about projects between Germany and France and cross Rhine, but we have a lot more missing links, for example, between Germany and Poland, and we have to close them. What is important is that we don't just think about existing infrastructure, but we also have to use about using them intelligently. We have to introduce new technologies, ENTCS, for example. For us in Baden-Württemberg, this is very important. You have noticed that in Stuttgart we are constructing the project Stuttgart 21. This is, so far we have only discussed a train station, and this will be a very important train network, train hub in Germany. And this is the start of a new network in Germany, digital railways. And this has been an important starting point, and we are very grateful for the fact that railway is also going to become digital, where more trains will be able to ride on the existing railways. The European Union has also contributed to the fact that national railway operators have been working together, and that a European night train system has been put in place, something that has been an important factor of Europe back in the days and which has been reinvigorated. It is a very cost-effective way to travel across Europe, and now we have the privilege to be able to travel from Stuttgart to Vienna or to Venice or even to Croatia. And obviously we also have a number of other railway connections towards France, Poland, and it is indeed the fact that all European cities can be well interconnected by night trains, and this is therefore also a very important contribution towards climate protection. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say that for us it is important that the border regions are being dealt with, that we open up borders, that we cooperate, that we have the mission of an environmental friendly Europe in the sense of climate protection. We have to do more. We have to do more quickly. Otherwise, all of our very nice speeches can perhaps be read upon in history books, and our grandchildren will tell us that they knew everything, but they didn't do anything, or they didn't do enough. And I think we shouldn't let this happen. Therefore, it is very important that on days such as this, we come together and we talk about these topics. Therefore, once again, thank you to the region Grand Est, to our partners Benelux Union, the House of the Netherlands regions, and I thank you all for being here today and for being available to discuss these topics with us. Thank you.
Darf Frau Sander bitten.
Ms. Sander, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Minister of Transport, Mr. Wilfried Hermans, I agree with you, and I'd like to repeat everything that she said, and I'd like also to thank my colleague, Jan-Christophe Etienne, Vice Chair of the Committee of Transport and Tourism. Ladies and gentlemen, you are here today, you are representing the economic world, local and regional entities and authorities, European institutions in the sector, in different sectors, but also in the transport sector. I'd like to welcome you here. I'm the president of Est-Europe, and I'm delighted to welcome you here for the second our second forum. The last one was last year. And I think that this forum shows that the quality of our collaboration with a constant dialogue and a close proximity. And we are also on a daily basis working on regional projects to develop our own territories. And yes, our territories have common history, and sometimes a harsh history, but it's also a motivating history, because we can base ourselves on it to build a better future, a strong future for our citizens. Because that's what we want to build together. One Europe and territories where our citizens like to live. So we have a good relationship with Baden-Württemberg. So I'd like to thank the Minister of Transport for the state of Baden-Württemberg. It's not the first time that we meet here. We meet quite regularly here in this building. But I also like to thank our partners for our fruitful and collaboration with our partners in Benelux, Germany, and Switzerland. And I'd like to welcome all their representatives here today, as they will take part in our discussions today. These neighbors have the same challenges, face the same challenges that we face. So we have common challenges and common goals, and we have also innovative projects that can inspire others also. And we are also always working for our citizens. This new forum also shows our will to contribute to a necessary dialogue with the EU and our regional partners. We have to say it, we should say it, European regions are of the utmost importance to build the EU, and Est-Europe is a collective with a bit more than 20 regional partners, with universities, local and regional authorities. And we made this choice to unite, to have a stronger impact on the EU policies. Last year we worked on hydrogen, and this year we are going to work on another issue, which is essential and complex as well, about the transformation of our mobility in Europe. We organized this with Baden-Württemberg, Benelux, and Maison des Provinces in the Netherlands. This forum aims at shedding a new light on this issue that could seem easy, simple, which solutions for sustainable and borderless transport in Europe. In Grand Est, we have a strong automotive and rail industry. We also have a lot of borders with 740 kilometer borders with Belgium, Luxembourg, Germany, and of course Switzerland. So for our region, the issue of mobility is an important one at every level for the environment, the economy, and social point of view. But I think we also need to come up with new solutions collectively. We need to transform the rail and automotive industries and develop trans-European network to work towards the future of mobility for our citizens. And our different roundtables today will enable us to talk about different projects and different European decisions that will transform these sectors. The end of combustion engines, we talked a lot about it these last weeks, but we also talk about other engines, and we are also going to talk about data and trans-European network. And I'd like to remind you that it's an important text for the transport sector in Europe. It's important for a lot of territories and for my region as well. So talking about all of these topics, we are going to see how the different actors and authorities will work with these changings and will prepare for these changings. I'd like to come back shortly on this trans-European network to tell you that you may already know that there will soon be an important vote in the EU on this topic. You know that the EU Parliament is about to vote tomorrow on the regulation RTET network. So our discussions here today are still important. So what I'd like to tell you is that my region, with all of its partners, decided to come together to bring some topics on the table. And the topics of links, missing links. And we wanted to talk about 3 missing links in our region, and I hope that tomorrow we'll hear some good news, but we cannot know what will happen during the vote. So we will talk about it in a few hours. I'd like to wish you fruitful discussions today, and I now like to give the floor to the Vice Chair of the Committee on Transport and Tourism. Thank you.
Sehr geehrter Herr Minister Hermann, chers d'enfants binationaux franco-allemands, je me réjouis toujours d'être sur des débats franco-allemands, notamment quand il s'agit d'améliorer le quotidien de la population, parce que c'est ça on œuvre pour ça.
To improve the life of everyone.
This topic, dear ladies and gentlemen, is the question: how can we manage to design mobility and transport in a way so that on the one hand it is sustainable but also borderless? And these are the challenging questions that we have also discussed in the Transport Committee in the European Parliament at the moment. The minister just mentioned it. We are currently in the phase of implementing the Fit for 55, the Green Deal package in the European Parliament. And in this decision-making process, which is still somewhat far away and perhaps not also noticeable for people, how can we design the path towards it? I think it's the task of politics to design that way, to accompany that, so that it will not only be achieved, but also successfully achieved. And this is what we are going to have to do over the next few years, and this is where, especially in Germany, which is a federal country, which will have a very important role to play in this process. We have a decision now for A4, that is the infrastructure regulation for alternative fuels, and this also includes electricity. Obviously, nobody wants the path, nobody wants to halt or slow down the path towards electrification of the automotive market. But I am not sure that by 2035 we will actually have the infrastructure to be able to implement just that. Therefore, it is important that we just leave that gap, but also it has to be economically viable. Those cars, those vehicles with combustion engines have to be economically viable, but also night trains, for example. Dear ladies and gentlemen, therefore, I think we are at a very important crossroads in order to set up this infrastructure. We have the goals, and now it is about implementing them. And whilst implementing them, I think it is about working together hand in hand. And where we have cross-border transport, we need to have systems that are compatible on both sides. We have, in energy politics, we have a lot to do. I think we are about to decommission the last nuclear power plants, but it is not just about decommissioning them, it is also about setting up new energy providers. We need new alternative energies in order to have the sustainability that we have mentioned on screen here. And France has taken a different decision. And I think it is important in the European Union that we respect the different pathways member states are choosing. And I think we shouldn't try from the European Union to decide what is the best way. Every member state has to find its own pathway. And I think the overall goal is to reach climate neutrality. And I think we still have a lot to do. The Fit for 55 part has also been discussed vehemently in the Environment Committee. And obviously we have lots of discussions, we argue, but I think we all agree on the goal, which is the climate neutrality goal by 2050. And a large legislation will come on the agenda, and this is about green freight. So how can we achieve the transport of goods to be able to CO2 neutral? And this is where a lot of technical things have to be changed. First of all, the fleet thresholds, which will have to be changed for lorries, for example, but with regards to electromobility, for example, if we want to achieve that, we have to change rather practical things, measures, for example, so that we can equip lorries with this technology. Therefore, Also for road traffic, there is still a rather large task that is ahead of us. We still have 1 year until the next European elections in 2024. And insofar, we still have a lot to move forward in a practical way. And if we look at the railway transport, you already mentioned the topic digitalization, and obviously this is one lever where we can have more capacity on railways. But we also have other levers, which also has to do with digitalization, and this is digital coupling, which can actually achieve up to 10% more capacity on railways. But the digital coupling needs to be implemented across Europe, since you know that trains are traveling across Europe in order to transport goods. Therefore, this digital coupling would need to be achieved across Europe so that it would function. And this costs a lot of money. And the question is, how can we achieve that across Europe? Dear colleague, Mrs. Sander, obviously we have a number of ideas, a lot of ideas. Sometimes we don't have enough money from the member states available in order to implement these. This is something that we have to discuss. But with regards to railways, the so-called missing links that you mentioned, obviously they are very decisive. This is what my dear colleague Sander just mentioned in the Transport Committee on the decision of the cross-European transport links, and I'm going to preside the meeting on that topic tomorrow. I think I can already say that on the compromises that have been proposed by the rapporteurs so far, I think these missing links will be addressed between the Grand Est and Baden-Württemberg, for example, these links. And at the end, I don't think it is decisive how we construct them or how we finance them. I think what is important is that we construct them. We have different types of funding railway constructions in France and Germany. And I know that in France, it is important that this is part of the trans-European network, so this can be funded with European money. And in Germany, this is difficult. This is a rather difficult matter. But we now go one step further. The European Parliament is going to put these missing links onto their wish list, and we are going to enter into negotiations with the Council. I think it is important that we keep up the pressure and that we continue to move towards finding a solution, how this is going to be funded and how this can be constructed. Another very important topic is the topic of MDMS, multimodal digital mobility services, and this is also something that is going to be put forward by the Commission, and this is about achieving at a European level that citizens will be able to buy tickets easily, also in different countries, also for different types of transport, since not everybody is lucky enough to enter a tram in Strasbourg and then get off in Baden-Württemberg. Therefore, we need to simplify the ticket system. We need to be able to make tickets available across borders. All of that, obviously, the fact that this is not available obviously brings problems in terms of cross-border mobility, and this is something that we have to improve. I'm not going to go further into the detail of trans-border commuters, the fact that it is not only difficult to travel, but also to have the according permits to be able to work in another country. I think what we have to achieve is that mobility is not only thought of in political structures and to hit borders. I think we actually have to design it according to the living reality of citizens in Europe. I think what we have to achieve is that citizens can use those services easily in a climate neutral way at some point, and that it is as easy as possible to travel from A to B and not just from a big city to another big city. I come from a village, and therefore also for those people it is important to be able to travel easily. We also have to think about how to be able to access a train station where I would like to be. I think today's debates and roundtable discussions will contribute to this common understanding, to develop this common understanding, and therefore I wish us all a lot of success. Interesting conversations on cross-border transport are always important and good to understand each other. Thank you.